Hey folks, this clip is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Get $20 off your order of incredible steaks with promo code VOLS, that is VOLS, at checkout. Omaha Steaks. Let's start here. Everybody wants to know Hendon Hooker. What are their predictions for him? Because I feel like it's really been sort of all over the place. There's predictions in the first round, predictions in the third round. They're very concerned with the injury. They can look past the injury. What have you seen?
So it really seems like over the last couple of weeks, he's been trending up quite a bit. You're starting to see him pop up more in the first round in mock drafts. Now, back in January, February, when the mock drafts or the serious mock drafts first started kind of filtering out, he was second round, third round, some of those areas. You saw teams like maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Seattle Seahawks, some of these teams that could use a long-term answer at quarterback, especially the Buccaneers. Saw him mocked there a lot. But over the last couple of weeks, I've seen him like going to the Titans at 11, the Vikings at, I think they have the 23rd pick maybe, the Buccaneers again, the Seahawks again. You've really seen him, it's just soaring lately. And it's really because of the impressions that he's made during these interviews and the way that he's impressed teams. He knows what he's talking about. He knows football better than people think he does. He's excelled at doing the board work, being able to call the plays and draw out what Tennessee was trying to do, what kind of concepts maybe NFL teams might run. He's been very impressive in that, the way that he takes in information, just his general demeanor. I mean, we saw it when he's at Tennessee. That's no surprise to us at all. So that's really helped him a lot, just the way he carries himself. And I think NFL teams put more stock into that than maybe a draft analyst. I know somebody like Mel Kiper that's been really big on Will Levis. I think Will Levis might be his favorite quarterback in the draft, and it has nothing to do with anything off the field, the way he carries himself, none of that. It's straight up just the ball coming out of his hand, the ability that he has, the size. I think that's kind of an old school way of thinking, because we've seen in recent years that it really takes, it's not so much the talent. Obviously, you have to have talent. You have to be able to throw the ball into tight windows. You have to have a decent arm. You have to be able to move out of the pocket, especially in today's game with some of these freak edge rushers that we see in the NFL. But guys like Joe Burrow, like, he doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the fastest guy out there. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not even really Aaron Rodgers, but he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL today, just because of the way he can lead, how smart he is, the way he plays the game. And there's other quarterbacks out there like that too. Hooker's got a lot of that in him. So I think NFL teams will like that. They're going to trust him in their locker room. Whereas with Will Levis, you don't really know. With Anthony Richardson, there's just so much there that you're trying to project as to how he'll play at the next level. You're not really sure. With Hooker, he's a little more polished, has a little more experience. I know the age is a factor in the ACL and all that stuff, but I don't think that's scaring away teams as much as we think. Now, the caveat there is that we started hearing some stuff like this about Malik Willis around the same time a year ago. Saw him projected high in the first round. I remember there were mock drafts that had him going to the Carolina Panthers at number 6. Pittsburgh Steelers, I think they had like the 24th pick. They ended up taking Kenny Pickett. He ends up falling to the third round to the Titans at number 86 overall. Obviously, there's a lot of misinformation that was put out there about Malik Willis. I don't think that's the same thing that's happening with Hendon Hooker, but I do think there might be a hint of that, like as far as like, going up, number 11 overall to the Titans. I don't think that's probably going to happen. I think he has a chance to sneak in there at the back end of the first round, maybe as high as to the Vikings, where they pick up in the early 20s. Saw a report today that maybe the Titans would be interested in trading back. If the player they want at number 11 is not there, they trade back to maybe try to get Hooker later in the first round. That's something that's been out there. Todd McShay put that out there today for ESPN. So there's some different scenarios there that, could end up with Hooker being a first round pick. It would be the first time a Tennessee quarterback's been picked in the first round since Peyton Manning in 1998. And really only like the 4th quarterback I think Tennessee's had selected, 4th or 5th. Since Manning, T. Martin, Ainge, Jonathan Crompton, Josh Dobbs. I don't think there's many others out there.
Yep. God, that would be so amazing to have him go in the first round. Not just obviously for the historical piece of that. That's really cool. But just for how great of a person Hendon Hooker is, I want to see him get rewarded.
Well, it feels like he got robbed because of that ACL, right?
Exactly.
Like, it feels like he got robbed of the last game against Vanderbilt. He got robbed of the Heisman Trophy being on the stage, if not winning the award, I think he would have been right
won.
there in that conversation, because outside of Caleb Williams, it really wasn't even that close with some of the other guys that were on the stage. So he got robbed of that, gets robbed of playing in the Orange Bowl, which I know he's happy that Joe Milton got that opportunity, and Joe Milton kind of silenced a few of the doubters moving into 2023. And I know just the person that Hooker is, that he's probably happy that Milton got that opportunity, and he's a selfless person, but he's got robbed of so much there at the end of his Tennessee career that at least give him this is kind of the way I feel about it too.
I feel like there's sort of two possibilities that are the most likely with Hooker, and I really hope it's the first one and definitely not the second one. I feel like he could be the surprise that gets taken right at the end of the first round, and we would all just be so ecstatic for him. And if it's not that, I'm afraid it's going to be I can't believe that he's been sitting for this long. How are they letting Hendon Hooker go? Oh, I like Malik Willis last year. It seems like there's kind of a quarterback like that most years in the NFL draft, just somebody where people are like, how has no one selected this guy? And they end up falling to like the third round when you thought they were going to go a lot higher. It just feels like those are the two scenarios that we've seen the most get floated around. And please, please, please just let it be the first. I just want so badly just some kind of dream scenario for him because he deserves it. The man himself. This is not for Tennessee fans. Like it's amazing for Tennessee fans to finally have another quarterback taken high, something like that. But just Hendon Hooker as a man and the things that have happened to him, the kid deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. Anything good that comes his way, he has brought that all on himself and just should be rewarded for that. But it really is just a giant toss up, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super confident about him going in the first round or not going in the first round either way. I think it's 50-50 on that, but if he doesn't, I don't think he falls out of the second round by any means. I don't think this quarterback draft class is not deep enough for him to fall that far down the board. If those other four guys go first round, which we know Bryce Young and CJ Stroud will, pretty sure Anthony Richardson will. Will Levis, you've kind of heard some negative talk about him. I really don't know. Maybe the Colts are in love with him, which I know Titans fans would love.
Please.
Maybe they do something back to him. Maybe they take him where they're sitting at right now. They're number 4, I believe. Who knows what happens with him? But beyond those 4, then it's Hooker, and there's not a lot of other great options. So I think a quarterback needy team like a Tampa Bay, like a Seattle, maybe Detroit, who feels pretty comfortable with Jared Goff going into 2023, but he's not really the long-term guy. Maybe they take a chance on Hooker to try to develop him and see what he has. Something like that could work, but I don't think he falls past the second round.
I hope not. And it's a crapshoot. We'll just have to see where it is. And obviously we're going to respond and react to everything that happened on next week's show. But I obviously would love for any Tennessee player to be taken by the Tennessee Titans. I'm a huge Titans guy, along with being a huge Tennessee guy. And right now, it seems like an option that's on the board for the Titans to go to the next player is Darnell Wright. And on that point, so I actually looked up on Superbook what they have for the NFL draft in terms of betting. They have the over-under for where certain players are going to get taken. I was looking through. They have Darnell Wright on here, and it is over-under 11.5. Again, go download Superbook Sports. You can bet on this. Over 11.5. That's his draft spot. The 11 would be the Tennessee Titans at the moment. They could trade. Is he taken by the Tennessee Titans, Zach? Are you over or are you under?
My gut, I mean, that being the Titans pick notwithstanding, my gut says to go under that because he's purely a right tackle.
Yeah.
We know he's had those left tackle reps, but it's pretty obvious that he's best suited to play right tackle, and I think that's what a team will target him for. Early on in the draft process, I thought he was the perfect fit for the Cincinnati Bengals. They got issues at right tackle. La'el Collins is hurt towards ACL. Don't know when he's going to be back. They signed Orlando Brown to play left tackle, to move Jonah Williams, a left tackle, to right tackle. He then demands a trade. So they don't really have a clear option there. I thought that would have been a perfect fit. Geographically, he's close. I think Cincinnati was the closest team to him growing up there in West Virginia, where he grew up on the western side of West Virginia. And initially that felt like, okay, him sneaking into the first round, which is kind of what people thought he might do. But over the last 2 months, his kind of like Hendon Hooker, his draft status has just shot up. We've heard all these great things. It felt like forever that nobody was talking about him shutting down Will Anderson. I know we talked about it during the season. At the beginning of the draft process, it felt like that kind of got overlooked. Then Will Anderson made those comments about Darnell Wright being the best offensive tackle he played against in college, and that kind of boosted Wright's draft stock a little bit. He's been impressive, and the Senior Bowl, the Combine, had a really great pre-draft performances. I think he'll go top 20. He might even go top 15, but it's just such a weird range of teams in that area. I've seen the Patriots maybe at 14, the Packers possibly at 15. The Steelers at 17 could be very interested. Wouldn't be surprised if they traded up. That's actually a scenario I saw floated today, is that they trade up with the Titans to draft Darnell Wright. The Titans trade back and maybe take Hendon Hooker later in the first round. So that would kind of be a pretty crazy scenario with us discussing Tennessee players. But he's the one surefire first-round pick for Tennessee. He's not going to fall out of the first round.
Yeah, 100% agree. As I said, you can go bet on where he's going to fall in the draft there on Superbook Sports. But I would be so ecstatic. I mean, I read an article this past week. I don't remember exactly where it was, where, Wright's a potential Titans target there. That'd be phenomenal. If it's not him, please give me Hendon Hooker. I would. That's the dream right there. Even if it, in my opinion, might not be the smartest move that the Titans could make, but regardless, that would be so cool. Moving down the list, Jalen Hyatt. What have you seen? This is another one where I've kind of seen some disparate things where some guys are just like, oh, he's only straight line speed. And then other guys think he might be the next great receiver. So what have you seen for Hyatt for Thursday night?
Seems like he's really fading into that second tier of wide receivers over the last couple of weeks. I'm not as convinced that he'll be a first round pick. Maybe the Chiefs pick him with the last pick in the first round. I think that would be his best fit, would be with Kansas City, because their offense isn't similar to Tennessee's. I'm not trying to say that, but they're the team that has the most similar concepts to Tennessee, that gets creative, gets innovative, tries to create some mismatches. We saw it in the playoffs at times. Plus, playing with Patrick Mahomes has a big arm. They don't have the speed guy necessarily that they've had in years past. Mecole Hardman left in free agency. They lost, Tyreek Hill last year. So they need somebody. They need somebody to fill that role. I think Jalen Hyatt would be a great fit there with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They might have other needs, though, that they want to address before wide receiver. They might feel like they can get somebody later. So if it's not the Chiefs, you've seen some other teams, him mocked to some other teams in the first round. The Chargers I've seen, which I think would be a pretty good fit with Justin Herbert. He could go out there and join Josh Palmer, another former Tennessee wide receiver that's in Los Angeles. I've seen the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sure there's plenty of Cowboys Vols fans somewhere out there that would enjoy that. I could see him slip into the second round, though. I don't think he slips outside really the top 40, maybe just barely, but that seems to be the range. Just because the uncertainty with, one, his size. He's not very big. He's not, he's 6 foot, barely 180 pounds, 75 pounds. He's not going to play a lot heavier than that, probably. He did look like he tried to put a little bit of weight on for Tennessee's pro day. You could tell that he was playing a little heavier than he did at Tennessee. I don't know if that's good or bad for his game, but those types of wide receivers can be tough to project at the next level. They tend to get injured a lot. Someone like Tyreek Hill, he's a little bigger. He's thicker. He has more mass. He can kind of hold up some of those hits. He's a different type of player. So I think that would be the concern with Hyatt. Then, of course, the route running stuff, which maybe that's justified, maybe it's not. I mean, he did play a year in Jim Chaney's offense, which is a little more traditional. So he's got some knowledge of playing in a different type of offense and having to receive play calls, different types of play calls, and not just reading the defense and these deep choice routes. So we'll see where he lands. I wouldn't be surprised if it's second round, though.
Omaha Steaks is rewriting the book on burgers with an all-new handmade texture for the juiciest home-style burgers that you have ever tasted. Their pure ground burgers are made from single cuts of real aged Omaha steaks. These are truly steaks on a bun, filet mignon, ribeye, New York strips, sirloin, and even brisket burgers. Now is the time to experience the exclusive Burger Perfection flight. Go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code VOLS at checkout, and you'll get an extra $20 off orders of $129 or more, plus free shipping. Order today so you can try each pure ground burger and sample all the steak on a bun greatness. These burgers are crafted for a juicier, more tender experience, making your mouth water with every single bite. And let me tell you, folks, I haven't gotten the chance to try these pure ground burgers yet, but I've tried the Omaha Steaks burgers previously, and those are incredible. So it's hard to imagine how good these might be. I'm excited to try them. Hopefully I'll get my hands on them soon. And of course, with Omaha Steaks, it comes right to your door. It's so convenient. You got to try it. Don't wait. Go to omahasteaks.com. Use promo code VOLS at checkout again, and you'll get $20 off orders of $129 or more, and you can discover your new burger obsession. Minimum order may be required. omahasteaks.com, promo code VOLS. Omaha Steaks.
I think he goes second round. It just seems like that's been the conventional wisdom. And of course, we all know that essentially none of these guys really know what they're talking about. At the end of the day, it's just guessing. But
Yeah,
it just makes the most sense. And so that is definitely my guess from everything I've seen with Hyatt. And on the same point, I saw actually a Titans reporter that I follow on Twitter. He was saying that Cedric Tillman is a better NFL prospect than Jalen Hyatt. And he kind of said it on Twitter this week as just like, this is going to be controversial. But Cedric Tillman is a better NFL prospect than Jalen Hyatt. And here's the thing. I agree with that, I think, because, and I think most Tennessee fans would probably hang out here. I think they're similar. Jalen Hyatt has all the potential in the world. Put his nose to the grindstone. I think the kid could carve out an excellent NFL career. But Cedric Tillman, you just look at the traditional NFL wide receiver, more physical, bigger. He's really great on 50-50 footballs. He just has all of those things that they really look for in the NFL. And the projections that I've seen are second or even third round, I want to say. And if he goes down to the third round, somebody's just getting an unbelievable value there. In my personal opinion, when he gets completely over all the injury and all the everything, that kid, like he has all the potential. It's all there. But have you seen anything particularly interesting with Tillman in the draft?
No, I saw that comment. I've seen him mocked in the same range. I've seen him sneak into the first round in a handful of mocks, not many. Most of them, like you said, have been second or third round. But I agree. I think he's the better NFL prospect. He's bigger. He has great body control, elite body control, I'd say. We've seen the way he can adjust the balls in the air, and that is a hugely valuable trait, one that quarterbacks will love. You want to throw to a guy that can make a bad throw look not so bad. Because those are going to happen even in the NFL. He's not as fast as Hyatt, obviously, but he's not slow by any means. I think he ran like a 4.52 or in the 4.5 range at the combine, which is it's not burner speed, but it's good enough to play in the NFL.
4 is what's listed at the thing I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's good enough to play in the NFL. No, he's not going to be, like you said, a speedster that's just blazing past guys, and that wasn't really his game at Tennessee. I mean, he had some of those plays. We saw some of those in 2021. But he's more of he's just more of a traditional wide receiver. He mentioned about Hyatt playing 1 year in Chaney's offense. I mean, Tillman was in Chaney's offense for 3 years. He was in Heupel's for 2 years. So he has plenty of experience in different systems. I think that's a positive going for him. I mean, that if not for that 2022 year, he comes out 2021, he might be a first-round pick coming out of last season. He was the leading returning receiver in the SEC this past season, and then he got hurt. If he doesn't get hurt, are we even talking about Jalen Hyatt in the same way? Is Jalen Hyatt even declared for the draft? I mean, maybe he's coming back to Tennessee if Cedric Tillman never gets hurt, because it just increased his opportunities and made him become the focal point of that offense where it was previously Tillman, at least in the passing game. So I think, he could definitely be a major steal. He's another one that I think the Bengals could possibly be interested in if they can get him in like the third round, because T. Higgins is a good chance that they don't. I know there's talks that they want to extend him. I just don't see how it happens. You got a Joe Burrow extension coming, Jamar Chase next offseason. you can't wrap up all your money in those 3 big offensive weapons. You got to have money to spread around to other positions of need, and their offensive line issues have been well documented. So that could be an interesting landing spot. Really, he could fit in just about in any offense, I think, though, just because of the type of player he is. He's a move the chains type guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's another one that I really want to see rewarded after this past season. He just kind of got a tough hand, and I think hopefully it's a second round for sure. I mean, and no further than that. But I could see if he falls, I mean, that's going to be an incredible value for whatever team picks him up. But we'll finish with this. Byron Young, dude, has been getting hype from some of the analysis that I've seen as being just like a real under the radar potential value pickup for whoever can get him. Specifically, I mean, the stuff that I've read is just that his work ethic jumps off the page. Obviously, we all know Byron Young. He was a manager at the Dollar General, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then went to junior college. Then from junior college, got picked up by Tennessee, and just kind of has this cool meteoric rise that he had, and then now has potential to get to the NFL, and that's so awesome. And I think that's got to be attractive to teams, because if you can get a dude who's a workhorse like that, that's it's one of the best traits you can possibly have, because they're going to come in with a business mentality and get better at the game of football for you. And so I don't know what you've seen in terms of his potential, the round where he might get picked. But what have you seen about BY?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of second round projections with him. I've seen the Chicago Bears quite a few times. I think that would make sense. And they're kind of a defensive first team under Matt Eberflus, the head coach out there that came from the Colts. I think that would make a lot of sense. He's an athletic guy. He ran like a 4.43 or 4.41 in the 40 at the combine, had a 11-foot long broad jump, I think, which was the highest in his group that day. So very athletic. Didn't have a ton of production at Tennessee. I think that will probably be a negative against him. I think he like 12.5 career sacks or somewhere in that range over his 2 years at Tennessee. So that probably a little bit of a negative, but I think he's a guy that in the second round, the way edge rushers, they're so important. If you can hit on one in the second or third round, it can really change your defense. I think it's worth taking a chance on him. So I think his athleticism, his work ethic, his story, I don't think he falls much past the second round at all. Maybe early third, possibly, but I think he'll be a second round pick. I mean, there's even been some right after the combine that thought maybe he should be a first rounder, that he had that type of talent. I don't know if NFL teams will agree with that or not, but he's in that first couple of rounds.
I mean, just think about. So if kind of the projections that we've talked about with these first 5 guys all come to fruition, Tennessee would have 5 dudes taken in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. 5. After a season where 30 dudes went in the portal and a new coach took over, and all obviously we all watched it. What more could you say? An 11-2 season in year 2, 5 dudes taken in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. I think it's extremely likely that it's 5 dudes taken in the first 3 rounds. I don't want to say that's guaranteed. You never know. Things can happen. But if it's 5 guys taken in the first 3 rounds, much less the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft, and after an 11-2 season, I just another feather in the Josh Heupel miracle worker cap there.
What's even more impressive, and this is actually what I was fixing to say here. Ben Hall pretty much says it for me. That's a massive number for recruiting, because it means we develop dudes who were thought to be duds. And that's
Great
exactly what I was going to get to. Hendon Hooker was an afterthought at Virginia Tech. Jalen Hyatt didn't have a great first 2 years at Tennessee. Cedric Tillman had produced almost nothing under Jeremy Pruitt coming out of Las Vegas. Byron Young, obviously, you talked about his story. Working at Dollar General, thought his football career might be completely over. I mean, these are guys that they weren't supposed to be going in the early rounds of the draft at all. Like that wasn't supposed to be the case. Even Darnell Wright, after his first couple of years at Tennessee, should he really have been a 5-star? Like, he's been solid, but he hasn't been that elite offensive lineman. They moved him to the right side in 2022. He's the best offensive lineman in the nation. So, I mean, just the development of this staff across a multitude of positions, quarterback, edge rusher, offensive line, wide receiver. It's been incredible to watch. If they get some dudes in the secondary moving in the same direction, I mean, watch out, I guess. But yeah, it's just really a testament to the development that's happening in Tennessee. It's been something that we've talked about for Tennessee fans have talked about for 10 years, the development. I mean, we saw so many talented guys go to Tennessee and not succeed. In fact, The Athletic did a little not investigative, but did a little research into programs, how they develop talent, the amount of 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star players that end up going to the NFL. And Tennessee did not score well in that at all, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that's followed the program over the last, like we said, 10 years, because you've seen a lot of those guys just fail and not live up to the expectations. I mean, like Khalil McKenzie, for example, a 5-star lineman that you could play on defense or offense at Tennessee. And I can't remember if he was drafted late, but never really, had an NFL career. You think about what if he would have had a coach like Josh Heupel on this staff at Tennessee, where would his career be now? So I think that's definitely something that recruits want to know. If you're a 4-star guy, even if you're a high 3-star, you're thinking NFL and you want to know how to get there. Of course, you want to go to college, win a championship. That's 3 to 4 years of your life. You're thinking about that next 10 to 15 years, hopefully. And can Tennessee get me there? I mean, they're showing so far that they can.
What more proof would you need? Seriously, if that happens, the 5 guys in the first 2 rounds this year, and then Heupel produces another 10-win season, I will put it this way, and I don't necessarily say this to put pressure on Heupel, but I think it's just true. If that all happens, there's no excuse to not start recruiting at a level near your Georgias and Alabamas. There's really no. Yeah. You're right there. You're getting guys drafted like they do. You're getting season results like they do. So let's recruit like they do. Because, if you're, and to that point, if you're getting season results similar to Alabama and Georgia, but with far less talented players, what'll happen if you get those talented players? I want to find out. I want to know. So,
well, it's what it's going to take to beat Georgia, because you're going to have the athletes to beat them.
Yes. But time will tell. We're just going to have to see how it all turns out. The rest of the guys on the list for Tennessee, Jeremy Banks, Jerome Carvin, I think they're going to be later round guys. But
I think both of those go. Yeah, I think they both go 6th, 7th round. I think Jeremy Banks can be I think he can provide some immediate special teams value. I don't know if he'll ever really play like a starting linebacker type role in the NFL. I don't know if he has the pass coverage skills for that and some of the other attributes needed to play that position in the NFL, but I think he can be valuable in a special teams way. And I think Jerome Carvin could be one of the biggest steals in the draft. He's got position versatility. He can play either guard spot. He can play center. He was one of Tennessee's main leaders last season. I think I don't know why he wasn't invited to the combine. I think he should be like a 3rd or 4th round pick. I think he's showed that he's talented. I think he might have allowed just 1 sack all of last season, if that. I don't know what teams are seeing there that we're not seeing. Maybe there's something with the measurables that they don't like, or something with the film. I'm not claiming to be a draft analyst or a front office, NFL front office member that goes in depth and watches every snap and can really evaluate these guys in that sense. But just based on what we saw at Tennessee, he seemed like an NFL offensive lineman to me.